Your thoughts on what we saw from Dricus and quite frankly, what we didn't see from Sean Strickland?
Yeah, it was a very one-sided fight, to be honest. I think Dricus definitely improved on his first showing against Strickland, and I was surprised to hear that it was only 32 strikes he landed more than the first fight because it did feel like
Through,
his output.
through 32 more strikes thrown.
Right, right, okay. I thought just watching it, I felt like there was a lot more output from Dricus' side. Strickland just didn't seem to offer anything, and I was watching Nixick in his corner very closely between rounds, and you could see him just becoming so frustrated. There was 2 points where, maybe more, maybe three, where Strickland put together this three-punch combination, and maybe one of the punches landed every time, but it was something, you know. And I was like, oh, he's gonna go back to the well with this. Didn't seem to happen. Just couldn't take the momentum away from Dricus. And honestly, what was going through my head, and I spoke to Ben and Shaheen about this on Friday, like, how many times do we have to see guys going into fights with staph infections to know that they're not going to be right? We had the classic case of Benoit Saint Denis against Dustin Poirier, where he absolutely blew his load in the first round and then just died in the second. And I don't know, like, based on what we know, Sean Strickland, a guy with a high output, a guy that will look to point fight his way to victory every time, to not win a single round, that's pretty shocking to me. It's either that or Dricus has improved a lot, which is what he said in the post-fight press conference. But yeah, very surprising. And believe me, it was a tough one to watch here at 5 o'clock in the morning when those boys got going. And fair play to Dricus, but it didn't seem like Strickland was there at all to me.
It's a great shout regarding Strickland's arm. It was very clear that I think on his left arm, right, there was something there. On Thursday we saw it, and by the way, he's wearing a cutoff shirt, so I mean, like, you can't miss it. And it was the side that he was facing off, and then it looked like it got a tiny bit better come Friday's weigh-in face-off. But you're 100% right. It always seems to be somewhat of a telltale sign. Now we thought we saw something similar with Merab's shin. Come to find out that he was doing something crazy on some stairs. It wasn't a staph infection, and it didn't seem to deter him. But Merab is a freak. He is, in fact, a machine. And so those things don't seem to bother him very much. Strickland is getting a lot of shit. He's getting a lot of shit by everyone. All his enemies are coming out. The fans are coming out. Like I said, Dean Thomas on the post show. And sometimes those post shows feel like state-run TV. Like, he was very, very, very honest, saying, and brutal, saying, like, he's not that guy. He's not the guy that he says he is. He may be a gym warrior, but he is not the guy that actually fights to the death. Kudos to him for, rearranging his nose that was clearly broken, and you see all the blood coming out. But in terms of the actual style, like, it's not fun stuff. He's just kind of walking forward, sort of like this, throws out the jab, a right, throws out the jab, plodding, a little bit flat-footed, and that's basically it. And so, Rick, let me ask you, is the hate warranted on this Monday that Sean Strickland is getting?
No, because I think the style is dependent upon the opponent. Sean Strickland is bringing a very established style to the octagon every single time, and it's why when we were breaking down the fight on Boys in the Back, me and Connor, I was like, I kind of know what I'm getting out of every single Sean Strickland fight. The only way I see he could win this fight is if he doubles his output. Instead, he halved his output, and now whether that was due to staph infection, recovery, or anything else, that was not going to be a winning formula, because Dricus du Plessis proved in the first fight that he could stand there and strike with him, and he proved again in the second fight that not only can he stand and strike with him, he's going to do it better. And so the only style that I thought was going to be successful for Sean is if he doubled up his attack somehow, right? And he already had thrown 400 punches in the first one. But against Israel Adesanya, that looks exciting. That looks fun. Somebody who's going to allow him to kind of get his style off and look for counter shots. It looks good. Against somebody like Dricus, who's actually the one pressing forward and moving the action, it doesn't look as good because he's not really doing anything to thwart the attack, right? He's sound defensively. He's keeping himself safe, and he's putting out a high-ish volume, not as high as the last fight. And it's really just not that thrilling, not that compelling. But I don't think it's fair as a whole that, like, his style is going to come into question or that he can't be exciting. I think it's very matchup dependent. These two, it's not going to be the most thrilling. I didn't really have a problem with it. Like, I wasn't sitting there bored. I just was wondering, what is plan B for Sean Strickland? Because plan A seems to always be exactly the same, and this is not effective against Dricus du Plessis.
The first time they fought, he threw about 419 strikes on Saturday, 263. So
wow,
it's I mean it's right there. He
doesn't have power, right? So, and if you're only going to engage in the striking, right? Sean Strickland is not shooting takedowns in most fights, and in this fight certainly not, and in the first fight certainly not. If you're only going to engage in striking and you don't have power to really put Dricus down, the only thing you can do is throw more punches. That is literally the only thing you could possibly... Maybe you throw a different type of attack, right? You're throwing more kicks or whatever. But if you're primarily a jabber and somebody who's looking to set up something with that jab, you just have to throw more. That's the only path to victory that I could possibly see, and he just wasn't able to execute that.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say, you get what you get in a Sean Strickland fight. This is nothing new. Like, before the Adesanya fight, people were complaining when we went the back-to-back, the Cannonier into the Imavov, and we got back-to-back Sean Strickland main events, and people were like, oh, great, here we go again, like another 25 minutes of just throwing out the jab, teep kicks, and everything like that. People were complaining about that, and then he beat Adesanya, he became champion, he brought on this persona, and people became fans of him, but the fighting style never changed. We knew exactly what we were going to get from this, so the hate, I don't think is deserved. I mean, it's just his fighting style.
And so I was actually just going to refresh everyone's memory. Like, you go back, let's say, I don't know, 2021, Jotko decision, Uriah Hall decision.
All of these in the Apex as well. He was like an Apex fighter before.
Split decision against Hermanson, KO'd by Pereira with the awful game plan. Remember that? It just lasted 236.
Yeah, that one wasn't great.
The Cannonier split decision, the Imavov decision in his way, the Magomedov TKO win.
Big one.
Yeah, it might have been the lone bright spot as far as like aggression and
got him a title
getting
shot.
a finish, and then gets the performance bonus. Now,
by the way, he also nearly got killed in the first round of that, and then finished him because Aba's gassed completely out. Like, it wasn't exactly coming in there and being Francis Ngannou. It was kind of just still the Sean Strickland game plan.
And also worth noting that somewhat, and please, hopefully this doesn't lead to a 45-minute YouTube breakdown. Somewhat like Jamal Hill, he is a byproduct of circumstance and luck in terms of getting his title shot and winning his title. He would have never gotten that title shot if DDP was able to fight. Remember, DDP fought Robert Whittaker in July, and they needed a quick turnaround to fight Izzy. And remember, Izzy was, calling him Dricus, dupe, whatever, all that stuff. And then he did the video being like, fine, give me Strickland. Remember that. It was never supposed to be DDP versus
to the point that
Izzy. Just like with Jamal Hill and the the injury and then the draw, and then he gets the Glover fight. And again, these things happen, but it wasn't like he's the number one guy. No. He's done enough, and now here he is fighting for the belt. A few things had to, bounce his way. And you look at other guys like Merab, like a Volkanovski, like a Bilal, like they had to scratch and claw their way just to get the title shot. He did not have to do that. He just happened to be in the spot when they needed an Izzy title fight.
Yeah. And that's the one side of it. To his credit, though, when the opportunity came, he beat a pound for pound great,
it was
on that moment.
I'm not trying to do revisionist
No,
history.
I know you're not. I know you're
performance.
not. I know you're not trying to revise what happened there, but you're 100% right. He owes Israel Adesanya for that opportunity because Israel and the UFC, Israel wanted to be on that card. The UFC needed him on that card, and they had, as you said, there was no rightful contender other than Dricus. Dricus was the one that everybody was like, yeah, this is the one. And so Sean stepped into that opportunity. Then he maximized it. Then he made the most of it. He found some new support from fans and was able to capitalize on that. And I think a lot of times what happens is when he's up, right, when he's winning and the fans are behind him, it feels like, yeah, he's exciting. But it's really mostly the stuff on the mic. It's really mostly like the interviews and the, let me tell you something, guys. It's more that than it is the fighting style. The fighting style has been the exact same for as long as we can remember. There's nothing thrilling about it, nor do I find it boring, right? I'm not up or down on the Sean Strickland fighting style, but it's kind of always exactly
You don't find it boring?
No, I don't. I find it fine.
Him just plodding forward, throwing ones and twos. Like, the's nothing to it. He's just walking forward.
If you can stop him, I'm more interested in that. And Dricus has found a very successful way to stop him.
If you can stop him, isn't the answer to if it's boring or not. Like, that is not an exciting style. There's nothing. Forget about the discussion of, like, can you stop him or not. You're not popping in that tape to show someone about the best of MMA. You're not showing them a Sean Strickland fight.
No, because I don't think it's particularly varied or anything like that, but I don't find it boring. I find it fine. I find it average. I'm not bored by Sean Strickland fights or his style, nor am I particularly thrilled, right? I'm not going, you need to see this guy. But I think it's a super effective and kind of clean style. Okay, so as a counter, just devil's advocate, was GSP's style like the most exciting?
GSP mixed it up way more.
Mixed it up, sure. Was he exciting?
I would not put GSP in the same conversation.
I'm asking you a direct question.
Yes, I was into it. Now,
I'd have to say he was equally kind of ho-hum. In terms
Sean
of
Strickland?
Yeah, look.
Can I ask something about, because it pertains to what you guys are talking about, right? It's this guy who many people, regardless of what Rick or Ariel feel about it, many people online now criticizing this guy's style. And GC mentioned this is something that happened many times before. There was also times when we used to reach out to Strickland's management when we were doing the old show, Ariel, and we'd be like, did the UFC talk to this guy about what he's saying? You know, like some of the things he said were very outlandish a few years back, and it seemed like these things did happen. I think the most curious thing about the Sean Strickland story is this guy who seemed like the antithesis of what the UFC wanted to put in a spotlight has somehow. Are we calling Dana White privilege here in terms of how he got into these title situations twice? You mentioned earlier the Dricus Stylebender fight didn't work out. He gets pushed into the fight against Stylebender. Everyone saw Hamza as the rightful #1 contender to this division again ahead of this fight. Strickland gets put in this spot again. So a guy, essentially we're debating here whether he has a very boring style, and we know has said things that maybe the promotion wouldn't agree with in the past. How has he become a golden child within this promotion, I think is a better question.
Because he's done a great job of selling himself, because his press conferences are more quote unquote entertaining than his fights, certainly generate more interest, buzz, all that stuff and more. And so there's currency, there's value to that. But I do think quite strongly that if you sit there and start waxing poetic on everything but fighting, but draw a ton of attention to yourself, you better go and fight. You better go and deliver. Because otherwise, then what are we doing here? What is the point of all of this? Like if you're going to use that mic time to start talking about all this other stuff and getting under people's skin or not, but certainly, I mean, I saw Sean Strickland videos everywhere and not on your usual MMA / sports sites last week. For better or worse, you have to go and deliver, because then otherwise, what are you? You're the guy who is able to, use the mic time to his advantage for whatever reason. Why you want to wax poetic on all these things before a fight, I don't understand. But you are smart enough to recognize that it does make you more popular. It makes you more well known, and there's, like I said, there's currency attached to that.
By the way, we just recently see this with Colby Covington quite a bit, right? Like when you're successful, when you're winning fights, this gimmick, this thing that you're doing, I think I consider Strickland and Covington a little bit different, but a similar thing where their mic work is actually more exciting for the fan base than their fights in particular. But when you're down, it's a lot harder to swallow that like this is the exciting part of fight week when the results don't follow. And I think like we're in a down moment for Colby, we're in a down moment for Strickland now, where it seems like there's not a path back to the title with Dricus as champ. And so yeah, people are going to come out of the woodwork to jump on it.
I will add, Colby never won the undisputed title. He won the interim. Colby at his best, more entertaining and better fighter than Sean at his best, despite the fact that he won the belt, in my opinion. Colby's output. Remember Colby against Robbie Lawler? Like what he did to Robbie Lawler in New Jersey? Like Colby's output, his varied attack.
I don't see them that much different. If I'm
classic fight with Usman as well when he broke his jaw.
That
was a great fight.
One's a banger.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought for bang for your buck, Colby was a lot more entertaining. And so now they have to decide. I don't think he's going anywhere. And maybe this is a teachable moment. Maybe this is an aha moment. And maybe with the belt not on the line or a title shot not on the line, he just lets it go now. Maybe the next time out, he just lets it ride. Because if he can do that, win or lose, he's going to be so damn popular, right?
Why would he though? Why
you put it
because now
earlier.
There's nothing to lose.
He's fought how many times since 2021? I mean, what did he have to lose against Imavov after
he's not getting a title shot anytime soon, right? At that point, he's trying to work his way back up. He's trying to figure himself out. Now that I'm just wondering. The point is, in MMA, as we've talked about before, wins and losses don't mean as much, right? If you deliver, if you are fun, if you're entertaining, they will adore you. They will absolutely idolize you, right? Like, how much did the loss to Max Holloway really hurt Justin Gaethje? They announced Gaethje versus Dan Hooker, and everyone's going gaga. Everyone loves it, and so now maybe he doesn't have to worry about the politics. He doesn't, and I don't mean the politics of life and the world. I mean the politics of MMA and matchmaking. He doesn't have to worry about title shots. Maybe he'll just let it fly now. Maybe we'll hear about the crazy or see the crazy Sean Strickland that we hear about in the gym from training partners and sparring partners. And what I would say is, if we do see that plus his personality and what he does on the mic would make him into one of the biggest stars in the UFC. Do you know what I mean? If he's a 500 fighter in the UFC, but always delivers fun fights, he will be immortalized. But you can't be that guy and produce these fights. Now you're way too polarizing.
I just don't think he has it, though.
Yeah, maybe
his style is his style.
But people talk about him in the gym like he's like a freaking Tasmanian devil.
Well, he kind of is. It's just not power. Like, he opened up against Alex Pereira, and that ended up being an absolute mistake. Now, not everybody has the concussive force that Alex Pereira does, but, like, I don't know. Look, if Sean Strickland could still beat a lot of fighters. That's the thing that I think is, like, his style is his style. It's not going to thrill everybody. That's fine. And it doesn't even thrill me. Again, I just tolerate it. I'm fine with it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. But it's effective. It is effective, and he can still beat a lot of good fighters. I mean, he lost to Cannonier, but I think he thinks, and there are several others that thought he won that fight. There are several who thought he won the first Dricus fight. Certainly not this one. Got absolutely outclassed. So, like, I don't know. He's still an effective guy. He just does not have power. That's the thing.
I mean, the last 75 minutes he spent in the octagon have been with Israel Adesanya and DDP twice over. So he's clearly high level. Like, he can compete at the highest level of middleweight.
Yeah. I'm curious what they do with him next. Rick, you asked me on Saturday, is he? The more I think about it, I don't love it.
Oh, tell me.
Man, you know what? I know Brendan Allen is fighting this weekend. I want someone to get a shot against him. I want
Bo Nickel.
Somebody
Bo
not
Nickel, baby.
Fucking hell.
Bo fucking Nickel.
Bo Nickel has a fight. I know that. I don't know what it is. I was on his podcast. It's a great show, and he told me he has a fight, and this is before this fight.
American versus American.
I don't hate
Prideful American versus prideful American.
I don't hate it.
Do you think? All right, here's a question.
That's a crazy idea.
That's the bill.
You like this? Do you like this?
Who's more American? It just
No. Like, is Bo,
I'm down with this.
Bo Nickel ready for a guy who just fought?
I don't know if Bo Nickel is ready. I mean, I would assume he thinks that, but I mean, the build to that would be fantastic. Sean Strickland going at Bo Nickel, basically just telling him, you're not ready for this, like, you're not built for this. But Bo Nickel's going to mix it up. He's not just going to stand there and strike with him, I don't think. So it would be a fascinating matchup. And, like,
what about like Michel Pereira?
Sorry?
Sean Strickland versus Michel Pereira?
Yeah.
If he's willing to take it.
I don't know. It feels like too big of a drop-off.
That's a big...
I'm much
What do you mean too big of a drop-off?
In terms of the rankings.
Michel Pereira is ranked higher than Bo Nickel.
Oh, wait, are you talking Bo Nickel versus Michel?
No, Sean Strickland versus Pereira.
But that's the name of Bo Nickel. That's what I'm writing that off of.
Okay, so maybe Brendan Allen's fighting this weekend.
I like where your head is at, though, in terms of, like, Izzy versus Sean doesn't really do anything
he needs to get out of it.
Do you guys think Sean Strickland will now remain on pay-per-views, be like headlining fight nights in arenas, or do you think they move him back?
Yes, he's still a name.
Back to the Apex?
No, he's still a name. He's still a draw. He lost to the champion. It just all kind of fell flat. And perhaps he was sick. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.